As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we've been taking a look at the contribution of so many Latinos. Today, we sit down with Juan Gaytan, who leads Monterrey Security here in Chicago, and now, I guess, nationwide, we can say that, right?
Yeah, we've been fortunate.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for the invitation.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. Okay, so let's talk about Monterrey Security and explain to people what it is, and they perhaps, if they look closely, they may have seen it at some venues. So tell me about it.
Well, I was born and raised here in Chicago. We're a family of 7. Our parents are born from Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. So in honor of them, I named the company after them. Early on, people didn't really understand what the name is, but now as you go around the city of Chicago, you'll see Monterrey Security, as people call it. So it's a pretty exciting time, you know, growing up in the city of Chicago, Southwest Side, in Pislsen and in Brighton Park, always having, you know, dreams and aspirations of, and you think it's so far, but you know, going to the lakefront, being on the lakefront from Pislsen, you would think was miles and miles away. So it was just kind of a dream as you're a young kid growing up in a neighborhood like ours, trying to, hey, how do you get there? What can you do there? How come we're not there? People like us are not necessarily in that area. So it started then in early childhood ages.
At an early age.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will pose a question back to you. How do you get there? How do you do it for kids who maybe are watching at home who are from Pislsen and Little Village and Brighton Park, and they have this vision of something bigger that they want?
Well, you have to have strict parents, number one, okay?
I've got one of those, yeah.
And I think, you know, I was like many Latinos that felt disenfranchised. You know, you see all of these facilities that are going up and you go, there's no job opportunities, no programs for us. Where do you come up with the money to put a facility like this up, and we get left out? So I would go to our parents and sort of gripe, and they would turn around and say, hey, make yourself part of that discussion. Don't sit on the sidelines. How can you get yourself involved? And our parents always really got us involved in the community, trying to help folks out. My father, early on, before it was kind of the in thing to do with help with immigration, he was involved with that early on. So all of our family pretty much got involved with the community and helping out. And I think that's sort of what led to it. And then being a police officer for 10 years in Chicago, it was a great time, but I felt like I got to a point in my life where I could achieve more in the private sector, and I think that's where it came from. It's just public safety, helping out, and I think the one key strategy that I felt we could provide that other providers couldn't was hiring from the communities that we serve. You know, so we're accustomed to being in a Latino neighborhood, and we all felt disenfranchised. I'm like, well, let's hire folks from here. You know.
So what percentage of your employees are Latinos?
Oh, they're probably over 60%, somewhere in that range. You're probably closer to 95% minority altogether, women, African American, Latinos. So it's something that I think what we're able to do, it's become part of our mission, is hire folks and people that don't necessarily get the opportunity to work in facilities like this. I know sometimes people would look at this type of work as a potential dead-end job or someone just standing there, but if you look at that, that's all you're going to get from it, you know. And I think we've been able to change that and say this is a career opportunity for you in law enforcement. Today we hear, you know, how come the police department is not reflective of the community? So this is an avenue to get there, to help you get experience. We have folks that work with us in the premium seating areas of all of our locations that could lead to in the hospitality industry.
And let's explain the location. So I've seen you at Soldier Field. There's one. What else? The Chicago Marathon this weekend?
Sure, the Chicago Marathon this weekend. The Chicago Cubs, go Cubbies. We're going really strong this year. So we're with the Chicago Fire, Navy Pier, Lincoln Park Zoo.
And even smaller events as well.
Sure, certainly. So I think our biggest goal was just trying to get to a facility that was very iconic to everyone here in Chicago, where we can show that Latinos, people like us, could provide services there. So the McCaskey family has given us a great opportunity to work there and open many doors for us. We're at the University of Notre Dame, which is incredible. We're in our 4th year there. And something very exciting for us, just a couple of months ago, we won a contract at US Bank Stadium in Minnesota to provide services for the Minnesota Vikings.
But you said it's a 5-year contract,
it's
which
great.
is huge because now you've stepped outside of Chicago to other areas.
See, the current provider in Minnesota was there for 21 years, and people didn't even know who the provider was. And in North Minneapolis, they have many challenges like we do here in Chicago. And what we did was basically go door to door and say, hey, there's an opportunity here at the stadium. And we've hired over 1,200 folks from locally from Minneapolis. And so to us, our family, it kind of validated our work here, that it's working not only here, but it can work in other parts of the country, and that's what's really exciting about it.
And with every business, every company, there are always times where there are challenges, where there are controversies, and you have certainly not been immune to that. And how do you handle that?
I think number one, I said strict parents. So strict parents has let me.
But how do you handle it on a business level?
I think it's twofold. It starts with your parents, because when it comes with your upbringing, you're going to be faced with many challenges. We're Latino in the 70s growing up. You're faced with racism, all kinds of just walking to school back and forth where people don't really understand. That's stressful enough going to school and then having yourself being subjected to racism or just because of the color of your skin. So now as you grow up that way and you get into a situation where you're in business and people start to attack you, it's really easy to just kind of dismiss that. I think we stay true to what our mission is. We're going to make mistakes like anyone else, but I think we learn from them. We move forward. We're trying to help people. I think we're doing the right thing. We're bringing smart people with us, and I think that's how you get through it.
Okay, I can't let you leave without talking really briefly about security and what it means in this day and age when we see not just here in the U.S. but internationally this focus on security. What changes for you and how you handle these big events?
Well, it's very challenging. When I was a young kid, we would go to the baseball park and you wouldn't think about security.
No.
But today, with current events, it's so tragic. I couldn't even begin to name all of them that are happening. So that is the heavy responsibility that weighs in with us, is how do you provide a safe environment, make sure that it's still inviting for families to come out and enjoy the Cubs, potentially go to the World Series or go and support your family member at the marathon. So I think it's staying ahead of the training curve. It's staying very connected to local law enforcement, federal agencies, understanding what the best practices are around the country, around the world, trying to implement that, integrate our systems with those systems. And I think every single day, just watching and learning, spending the time training folks to make sure that it's safe when you come to an event and enjoy it.
All right, Juan Gaytan, thank you so much with Monterrey Securities. We wish you the best of luck.
Great, thank you for having me.
All right.